handing the songs over to, like, say, a mastering engineer instead of doing it myself was scary. It was like passing my children off to daycare or kindergarten for the first time and not knowing, like, oh, will you come back? Which that's kind of dark to say, actually.
Ghost Cult Magazine is back with another interview, and we welcome in the guys from Elder Devil. How are you doing today?
Great, great. Thanks for having us.
Wonderful.
Stephen and Jacob, the main instigators of the band. Super cool to talk to you. I was saying offline, I followed the band for a few years. I know Keeper. That was some music I dug a lot. And, you guys have been with Prosthetic for a few years. Brand new album coming out soon. Lots to unpack and talk about. But first of all, thanks for making time on the weekend to get this interview in with me. I appreciate you both.
Of course.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. Seriously.
For those unfamiliar, because I think this is our first ever interview together, just give us the origin story, episode 1 of how the band formed. I know you guys came from a bunch of different projects.
Yeah, Jacob and I have been friends for a long time. We know each other from other bands in the scene. Not growing up together, I would say. Jacob's a couple years removed from me, but we go to the same shows to kind of see each other. And in 2016 in fall, I kind of texted him. I was living in Vegas at the time, and I texted him and said, I really want to start like a pissed off kind of grind band in the sort of vein of Trap Them, I think, who just released their final album at that time, or what became their final album. And, Jacob is impressive in his ability to just come up with music and write it incredibly fast. And that's kind of how Elder Devil started, was just a 2-piece sort of studio band with Jacob doing all the production and recording, me doing lyrics and vocals. And that's how our first 2 releases were, before we even talked about becoming a full band. Right, Jacob? Is that something?
Yeah, it just because a lot of my projects, like, I guess Keeper wasn't initially studio, but it kind of became studio also. So that was just what I was used to. And then it kind of had a spark from there after those 2 releases where, like, it was fun to make. It felt feasible to recreate live, and there was a following building up already that we needed to expand on it, and hit up some people that, like, we were like, hey, what do you think about this? And they were down right away, Ryan and Pete, to fill in on the bass and drums, and it just went from there to try and grind out more releases more honestly than doing like the digital drum stuff, and just keep doing stuff, and it got us to this prosthetic thing. So it's pretty cool how it worked out.
It's really cool to have, for example, like Pete step in and be able to basically play every single thing that Jacob had programmed on drums. Pete is just like a complete monster that way. And Ryan, I had been in a band with for years, and we were really, really close. Like, Ryan knew everybody, and he's just like a good person. And that's kind of what I like about this band is, when you're in your early 20s, your late teens, you're starting a band out of, whoever will join your band. And you just kind of put up with different personalities. But I think we all gel, and we're all really good friends. And I think that really helps us a bit.
Being in a band with people you hate is uncool and difficult. I can attest. This is why I'm a journalist now and not in a band anymore. But I also wanted to say, yeah, of course, no pun intended with the grind it out. But I did want to say, like, I feel like it's got grind, but there's like a very cool noise rock influence. And I wanted to ask if that was a thing for you guys, because I hear like a lot of very Swans-esque and like Unsane and bands like that don't get a lot of love as much these days, but like I hear like a noise rock thing on top of like grindcore, hardcore, or other influences.
It's hard to it's hard for me to really narrow it down. I like being in a lot of projects because I can kind of like carve a niche into like, oh, I'm gonna save these riffs for this and these riffs for that or whatever. But it kind of just it grows into a mood rather than a genre, like a specific genre. And so I like throwing a bunch of stuff into Elder Devil songs, and wherever they come from. So like I'll get comments like that a lot, where like, oh, it sounds like this kind of influence, and it'll be someone I've never heard of, but it's like just that listener's interpretation of the song. And then like when we added Pete and Ryan too, and they kind of I start thinking about them as musicians and their backgrounds, and when I write the songs, and Pete has a big background in harsh noise and stuff like that, and electronics layering, and so we started to play with that in the album and like the last EP we did, and so it's like kind of cool to have just more stuff involved. And I think that's the good thing of making this into a band rather than a studio 2-piece, and to have a lot more input into it.
Yeah, I think we really struggle at times, Jacob and I, especially when we talk about this stuff, like, what genre is this? And it's like some stuff is really grindy, but I don't think that we're like strictly grindcore, right? And some stuff is blackened hardcore, you might call it, or some stuff has like more black metal influence or more hardcore influence. We just, I don't know, we kind of go back and forth with this, but we do definitely know that as our sound has kind of progressed and as the releases have come and gone, we started out really noisy and kind of got away from that a little bit. And I think we're really trying to go back to not like totally unproduced and stuff like that, but there's noise elements, and Pete really gets to shine on like the new album. He got to shine on like Tormentor, the previous EP that we did, by putting those noise elements in there, but not really being really focused on saying we're gonna write, this is a grind album, or this is gonna be this album. It's just sort of what Jacob comes up with and what we kind of are able to put in to our with our own influences as we kind of retune the songs and mess with the songs. So yeah, it's kind of coming from all over all over the place rather than a specific feeling of this is what we're doing and this is what this album is. This is the type of band we are.
Right on. And then Jacob, let me toss one at you about producing, right? So obviously it's a tremendous benefit that you're able to produce the tracks. And I don't know if you guys do a lot of pre-pro and demoing and things and then go record also, or if you send stuff back and forth or all record in the same place. But I was going to ask you if there are any potential pitfalls to being the producer of the band as well, because you're also very close to the music, you know?
I think it might have been this band where I came across for the first time handing the songs over to, like, say, a mastering engineer instead of doing it myself was scary. It was like passing my children off to daycare or kindergarten for the first time and not knowing, like, oh, will you come back? Which that's kind of dark to say, actually, but that was a learning experience. But also at the same time, this band felt like a bigger endeavor than my other projects, where I will second guess myself a lot. And I think that is actually, like, for the first time I've considered passing all the reins to someone else for future releases, because I want to have a little bit of my sanity preserved, and let someone else's their ear on and their work on the songs. I'm sure I'll still, like, I do love having the pre-pro done beforehand, and like I have everything laid out in scratches before we start really working on the songs, and I'll still do that. But I don't know, we'll see what happens in the future. But it is very convenient having all the stuff ready to go, all the gear, and I like the work. But this band, it definitely, there's been certain releases where I'm like, oh my god, is this cool? Is this heavy enough? Is this loud enough? Is this, and where other genres or other projects I have, I'm like, easy, just turn this up, sounds good. But this, I'm like, oh, I need to balance everything but have it be pissed. And I think it's easy to compare to everyone else that's out there and kind of get lost in the sauce. So yeah, there's pros and cons for sure.
Anybody who wants to look up Plotkin's Discogs, his body of work is amazing on the mastering and mixing side. I'm pretty sure after this record, Prosthetic will get you some producer money if you want it. I have a gut feeling it's definitely heavy enough and loud enough for sure.
We would not say no.
Yeah, for sure. And then Stephen, a little bit for you. Obviously tough subject matter on the album, right? There's some very personal stuff on here, and you're no stranger to sharing, personal stories. But was there any point that gave you pause as this album was developing to kind of go down this road. It definitely affected me personally. You know, we were sent the lyric sheet also, so I got to do a listen through, and then I did a listen through with the lyrics, and I was like, man. So just for, you know, heart to heart, friend to friend here, like, you know, was there any point where you maybe reconsidered some of this stuff at all? Do you ever have that like doubt creep in, like maybe I shouldn't do this completely?
Oh yeah. I think that nothing about this album or you know, say previous songs where we've touched on this, you know, we did a previous EP where I saw was very, very much about losing my mom. I think my whole thing is that I don't ever want to feel like I'm gonna write a song about this. It's more so I feel like I need to write something about this, or it needs to be come from a place of catharsis, not a place of I need a song and this is a difficult time in my life. And so therefore, right, I don't think it comes from there, but more so when I was writing this album, it just if I had something come up and the lyrics were there, I would write it. And I have always come from a position ever since, you know, losing my mom and then losing like a lot of family members kind of in a row, it seemed, all before the pandemic, that talking about these things or making art about these things or writing songs about these things is much more cathartic than just bottling it up and pretending like, you know, it's not affecting you. And so I've never really had pause about it, only because it's my, you know, my experience. And, you know, if I feel like it's right for me and right for like my own catharsis, as I said, then I'll write something about it. But I'm not going to do it. I would never do it just because, oh, this is something that's going to sound this way. It's more so just this will feel better to get this out on the page, make this, you know, get this out into a song. But yeah, I think there's, like I said, I think there's some catharsis there.
Fair enough, and thanks for sharing that, and thank you in general for making this record and sharing those moments and stories. Because personally, I lost my mom a long time ago, but my life is definitely split in chapters before and after. Right,
Of course,
it will
yeah.
never be the same. And all my like my whole narrative now is like what was before and then after her.
Yeah.
So it's just like I can appreciate that totally, and yeah, it's wild. Life is wild, and just you just have no idea what's going to happen. And you know, obviously, the last few years we're finally getting our music back. It seems like shows and things and festivals and underground things are coming back, so that's a relief and a pleasure. But in terms of sort of the run up to this record before it comes out in June, and that's Everything Worth Loving. In case I didn't mention it already, I think I didn't, but that's the title of the record, out on Prosthetic in June. And, you know, I still marvel at kind of the underground music industry still kind of models itself after the old music industry, like videos and singles. So I wanted to ask about kind of how you guys chose the singles for this record. And it's possible there hasn't been one yet. That's, you know, one to come out yet still, but like
two more,
yeah,
I think,
two
by
more.
this time.
So
Yeah.
just like how do you guys collaborate to choose? And then going forward from that, like, you know, if you're going to make a video or visualizer, what's that step-by-step process like?
It's pretty easy for us. This was we all kind of locked in on the same ones, I think.
Yeah, I think we talked about it we're like, oh hey, let's pitch our ideas, and they kind of were the same ideas anyway, just
That
kind of
prosthetic had,
yeah. And songs that kind of encapsulate the album, because it's kind of long. It had like 12 13 tracks on it,
13,
so
yeah.
But I feel like the ones that we thought stood out were good examples of the track list, and were fun. Like I'm really excited about the next one because I think that song is very fun to hear and to play. And but each single has something else to offer, and then we got to make the videos for them too.
Yeah, there definitely is. You know, Jacob and I think settled on like the same singles. We're like, these are probably the singles these are the singles we want. Let's see the kind of like, you know, something that differentiates from that song. And so those songs actually ended up falling into place really well. You know, like Endless Need is our like straightforward kind of grindy song. We love that song. And then My Body's Earth and Shrine, I think my favorite song on the album. I think it's Ryan's favorite song as well. A lot of fun recording that and doing vocals for that. And yeah, it was a pretty organic process. But then on top of that, there was the kind of fear of making the videos, because I did the video for My Body's Earth and Shrine, and then I did the video for the next one that's going to be released in a couple weeks. But we had a really good time having a local local friend who does like all analog kind of video creation, audiovisual stuff. He did the Endless Need video. We kind of gave him the prompt and he did it. So it was really fun, but also intimidating, kind of not only to choose the singles, not so much for that, but more so making the videos.
Very cool. Perhaps on location in Fresno. We'll find out. This is probably not going to run this interview until right before the album. So that's cool. You're not spoiling anything for those that don't know.
Great.
Yeah, if I had to pick personally, yeah, New Grief for me, My Body's an Earthen Shrine, Burning Forest, Puncture Wound. Those are really big ones for me. I ticked them off on my little notes here. So yeah, I don't know if
we've integrated 2 more of those into the live set recently.
Yeah, those are really fun to play.
Yeah.
Nice. And then yeah, I feel like, you know, Insomnia is another good one. It's a kind of a personal story of my life a little. But yeah, just you know, obviously the band is growing, and I hope you guys are gonna hit the road. Do you have any touring plans you can share for the rest of the year yet?
We're working on some stuff, for a little round after the album comes out. And
July.
We're stoked, for in July, and we're stoked to like go to some places we haven't been to before.
If this is coming out, I would say if this is coming out after the album is released, we should have an announcement by then. So I think we could say with confidence that we're going up to Seattle and going back down. So we'll go through Oregon, we'll go through Northern California, about 5 dates, and we're still, I think, locking in the last 2 dates. But it's gonna be really fun to kind of get on the road, because we had something like 12 days planned for the summer of 2020. The pandemic happened, so we obviously had to drop that, but it's gonna be fun playing for some new audiences and everything. And I think we'll try to do a couple more out of town gigs. It's difficult with work schedules lining up, but we're gonna try to make that happen.
Right, and I imagine you didn't get to tour much behind the last record, so it's possible that people are, you know, fiending to hear all these songs live. Maybe they haven't at all. So very cool, very cool. I'm rooting for you guys. This is a killer record, and Prosthetic seems to be doing a very nice job promoting it between PR and other things. I'm glad they're working with you on videos and things. It's very exciting. Super cool to hang out with the guys from Elder Devil today. Thank you so much for making some time to hang out with Ghost Cult. I really appreciate y'all. And best of luck and keep your heads up.
Of course, appreciate it. Thank you.